This is part 2 of building a resume. Again, if you have not seen the video on the T format, or if you haven't seen part 1 of the resume or the cover letter, the video on cover letter, you need to see the T format and the cover letter, and then part 1, and then this part, because this is the second half of a resume that we're going through. It's Mark Goschel's, and we've gone through the qualifications and the accomplishments. Those are your skills, especially the qualifications are your skills and your experiences. Again, as I can't tell you enough, you need to realize that employers are looking for people's what their skills are and what their experiences are. And that's why you look, and at the very bottom you see professional experience. That's when we start to talk about the professional experience. Now, before I do that, I want to have you take a look at, first of all, the cover letter that we did. And it has 4 bullet points. And as a reader, again, the whole key to it is for the reader to keep reading. If you lose that reader, and you have to realize that that the average time of a hiring manager or a reader reading a resume is 6 seconds. So if you need to steal everybody else's 6 seconds. I need that reader to keep reading. So one of the things that I want to make sure that you understand is that, first of all, you look at the cover letter that we did. Now maybe you have a copy of that, but it had the first 4 bullet points. So the reader looked at the first bullet point. Again, we don't talk about anything but that individual had the experience, the education, etc. So there were 4 times when that reader said, okay, 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 okay. Okay means, yeah, you got it. I'm going to keep reading on. There's no reason for somebody to stop if they say, okay, if you got them to the bottom. So then you're going to go to the resume, because that's the next page. And again, you have to realize, and I've mentioned this on a different video, that our resumes are 3 pages long. The cover letter is the first page of your resume. So if you have a 2-page resume, you really have a 3-page resume. So let's look at the qualifications that we talked about last in the part 1. And there are 5 more. Okay, 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 okay. As long as this is a good written, well-written document, resume, the reader's going to keep reading. And then you go into the selected accomplishments. And there's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've had 14 points where we're telling that reader, whoever it is, whether it's a hiring manager, HR, whoever, 14 points that he or she has looked at. Now, if you look at those on the cover letter and the first part, the qualifications and accomplishments, there's one thing that we did not talk about, that nothing ever comes up on that resume and cover letter. It's your age. So there are a lot of people that are going to be looking at this video and saying, yeah, but I'm in my 50s, I'm in my 60s, I might be even in my 70s. The resume that we create here does never tell them how old you are. Maybe you would tell them, and if we build this right, you'll never tell them. They'll never know. And guess what? They're not going to care, because you have the skills and the experiences necessary for that reader to say, I want to know more. Tell me more. So getting back to this, you'll see the resume, and we're down to our professional experience. You're never going to use work experience. You only use professional experience. If you use the word work experience, then you have to tell them about every job that you've had since you were a teenager, let's say. You don't want to do that. Our suggestion is that you not go back more than 10 or 12 years of experience. Why? Because it doesn't matter past then. Most of those skills and those experiences, or the experience that you had, are not going to have much to do with what you've compared to what you've done in the last 10 or 12 years. Why? Because those experiences and because the technology and the way of doing business has changed that much. Now, you may get some experience from that, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But as you can see with Mark's, he's got Angie's List, and he has Indianapolis, Indiana. We don't want to sell Angie's List. We would rather see, as far as Passport's concerned, we'd rather see them have advertising sales section manager up at the top, because that's what I'm interested. What was your last responsibilities? What was your last job, or the last job that you had that wasn't a bridge job? Now, one of the things that I do like about this, and I would only say that with certain people's jobs, past employment, he has a one line and 3 words of what Angie's List is. It's the $245 million. Angie's List is a U.S.-based paid subscription-supported website containing crowdsourced reviews of local businesses. Now, I'd put that down maybe down at the bottom. Why do I like that? I can't tell you the number of times when I've asked somebody either on our Monday night meeting or in the Tuesday workshops or in a one-on-one, where did you used to work? Well, I used to work at Dynamic Systems over in Carmel. I have unless I live close by or I know somebody there, I have no idea what Dynamic Systems does. I don't know if they make widgets, if they are a software producer, or what they do. So just that one line just gives me an idea, and all of a sudden I can visualize what you're doing by your explanation, and then the words, the keywords that you use in the accomplishments in the qualification section. Next, you can see that he has 2012, 2015. One thing you have to realize with Passport to Employment, we have a lot of speakers from outside our organization. We like them. Some of them are national speakers. And they will tell you things in a meeting or over online or when we're in our Monday night meetings in particular that we don't teach. We just go, and we're not saying that we're right. This is just a situation where we're not going to change everything time somebody tells us something. And I'll tell you that in Passport, if you talk to 10 different people, we come from different backgrounds. So if you talk to 10 different people, you're probably going to get some different views. And I suggest while you're working on your resume and working on your job search that you talk to as many of our volunteers as possible so that they can give you their impression, because we come from different jobs and careers. There are just not two of us that are the same. So that was what makes our organization, this ministry, so special, because you do get a wide variety of situations and answers based on that person's background. So let's take 2012 and 2015. Some people will tell you need to put the date, that they want to see the month. Now, I don't particularly agree with that. And why? Well, I can't imagine that there's any company that looks and says, all right, from now on, we're not going to hire anybody that left their last job in April. It doesn't make sense. And for those people that may have a gap in their job history, it'll maybe take and hide a little bit of that. Not necessarily, but it might. So we just don't suggest you put a month. Some people will. It's up to you, however you want to do it. Second of all, you're going to only, as I mentioned, go back 10 or 12 years and start with the times that are the jobs that you had that were most influential and are the ones where you had the most authority. I've had jobs now. Usually you'll do those with in numerical based on when you did it with the most recent first. I've had people that have maybe had two or three different types of careers. We broke them down by career, so it was a little different because it took that what you might think are gaps, we took that out of it because we just said, oh, when I was doing this, here's where I was, here's what I work, and here's what I did. Based on what I mentioned in part one, remember that this is not an experience-based resume. So you may be looking under professional experience and say, wow, when I was doing them before, I always had a long list. Your long list is all up on the qualifications and accomplishments. You've broken them down differently. Not that they're not important. You've just taken them and moved them in a different area. And as you can see with Mark's, as far as professional experience, he only used 2 bullet points for each one of his jobs. Now, I will tell you that there were 2 pages to Mark's, as there are to most of them that we use. We just didn't want to kill we didn't want to kill any more trees than we had to, so we just left that alone. What's going to be on the back? Well, education's going to be there. And then when I say education, that can be a university or a college. You don't have to put the date. You do want to put what your background was, whether you were in business or technology, whatever it might have been. The other thing that you want to do is any certifications or certificates that you may have accomplished throughout your career or since you've been out of work. One of the things that people will look at is and for one of the first questions you'll get in an interview is, well, since you've been out of work, what have you been doing? I don't want to tell them that I just been watching TV. So I'm going to tell them, oh, I got my certification in this, or I took classes. You can take classes, and we'll get into this at the end of this workshop. Number 1, there's classes that you can take and ways you can educate yourself. So have any of those certifications or certificates. Again, you don't have to put when you did them. I use the example of, for me, I did Xerox sales school for 125 people when I was in at the Springfield Illinois office. And I went through and I was the leader of that. I'm not going to tell them that I did that in 1979. It does not matter. So it's more that you have done, not when you did it. We don't need to give them that information, and they probably don't care. So after your education, you're also going to have your community and or your volunteer. There are many people that think that your volunteer work could be a factor in getting over the top when you're picking one. They have 2 people to pick, and your volunteer work is going to stick out if the more volunteering, especially when you're out of work. You want to be doing volunteer work. And you can enhance that as far as you don't have to tell them, well, I just was sorting clothes. That's not the key. It's where you did it and how you did it, that type of thing. Again, a lot of people are looking for that. And it also says, I wasn't just goofing off. I wasn't just watching TV. I was just sending in resumes. I was educating myself, and I also was volunteering to help others. So that's the end of our resume. If you have any questions, we'll have you have the names of all of our people. You can give me a call also, and we'll get into the next session. Thanks.